as we said, my name is Dooley Harte. My day job as a pensions official with UCU, and I have responsibility for legal engagement with the university superannuation scheme, along with my UCU colleagues. But mostly to this that I'll speak to today, but I'm also a member of Trade Union Friends of Palestine in Ireland, who are affiliated with the Irish Congress of Trade Unions, that provide support, advice, and campaign on Palestine in Ireland. And I want to just touch on some of that work in the very end. I am a pensions official, as I said, and I know that's not the case for everyone. But this argument is from the perspective of the borrowers UCU faced in relation to its engagement with USS. I hope to inform this ongoing campaign to encourage members and branches to pay attention to the schemes that are in their workplaces, to find allies, to provide some help and support and guidance as part of that when engaged with employers. That's the basis of the presentation. I'd also mention that UCU has been a vocal supporter of Palestine support and engagement campaign with its members as it seeks for an Irish site on the website, and our members also regularly attend rallies and events all over the UK, and many are PSC members. So, first of all, I just want to cover a couple of slides to set out the basis of the arguments that we made with the USS and what we believe that the trustee board needed to do and still needs to do. But the one thing I would say is, which I think as part of the trade union movement we should be all knowledgeable of, is that you can't take no for an answer. We were talking no numerous occasions that these things couldn't be done. It was too difficult to do these things in relation to pensions. They talked about issues around the law, the fiduciary duty were through back at us, but we wouldn't accept no. We just wouldn't go away. And anytime you were told no, our reaction to that was, we just need to go away and make a better argument. And that's what we did as part of that process. So, very quickly, the run through. We started off, as most people would in this argument, by making some moral arguments. And we highlighted the devastation that has and still occurring in Gaza, and that this devastation was being supported by the investments that were making the pensions of USS members. We talked about civilian deaths and murder of children. We provided evidence of starvation and famine being used as a deliberate act in the Israeli government. We talked about the devastation of infrastructure, education, and particular interest in my union, and health. Moral arguments didn't work, and they didn't work because money was the bottom line for the pension scheme. It was tied up in a lot of jargon, but money was the bottom line. So if it was all about money, we needed to focus on money. Before we did so, we also raised arguments around the legal issues to play. What we tried to raise those within wrapped around a financial argument. It wasn't just a matter of saying, here's companies on the US or the UN database, here's decisions that the ICJ or the ICC have made. It was a matter of then using that information and making it financially relevant to the pension scheme, about setting out what the risks were for the pension scheme, what their fiduciary duty was, what their responsibilities were as part of that. Now, that just didn't come straight away. We took a long number of months. A lot of different things wrong, a lot learning as we moved through that, at least what arguments worked, what didn't. But it was, as I say, it was about going back and continuing to make those arguments. Now, these legal matters that clearly impact on an investment's risk and return. So pensions trustees must consider them as financial factors and not non-financial factors under their legal fiduciary duty, which is how we put pressure on the trustees in the scheme, target their fiduciary duty. So we wanted to highlight risks because that's how we were going to win our arguments. Fiduciary duty is the legal obligation of trustees where their primary investment duty is balancing returns against risk. In order to do that, trustees must consider financially relevant factors. The war in Gaza, many arguments weren't working. So we had to look at it and say that the war in Gaza has had a devastating impact on the Israeli economy. The Bank of Israel has pumped in billions of dollars to prop up the Israeli economy, and therefore any investments that you have in the Israeli economy are at risk. And if they're at risk, you are legally required to take action to mitigate that risk. So we pointed out that investing in a company or a government that showed a poor financial return when compared with other investments, was at odds with the legal fiduciary duty that trustees have. If companies, for example, we know the likes of Starbucks and McDonald's had seen their profits reduce as a result of BDS, then why are you investing in these companies when they're under financial pressure? We pointed out that investments in USS, the investments GSS had were in companies listed on the UN database, in breach of international law. We pointed out that other organisations had divested from companies that USS continued to support. We pointed out that AXA Insurance, the Ireland Euro Investment Fund, Northern Teesside Falkirk Pension Funds, as well as the Danish Pension Fund, believe had divested from investments in Israel and investments in companies that support Israel. So why was USS continuing to do this? We also raised issues about other financial risks to investments. We talked about stranded assets, where there was a real possibility that those investments would maybe be impacted by sanctions or by companies going into administration, and then that money would be lost. If that money was lost, then that had an impact on the financial returns that scheme members would expect. And on that basis, there was a financial risk, and was always bringing it back to risk to fiduciary duty. We talked about the financial returns as Israel pays for the war. Regardless of what happens down the line, the cost of this war is phenomenal. And it was real difficult sometimes having conversations when people were there, were easing their lives, and you were talking about money. But that was what you had to do. You had to work with the circumstances that we were given, and what we were given was to talk about money. That's how we were trying to prosecute. Now, one of the things we also raised as well was the issues around designation of members over investments. We talked about PR for the scheme itself, if it didn't invest, continue to invest these issues, and that would have impacts on financial returns. We talked about complicity and the fact that if a country or a company that was being invested in actually had legal action taken against it, that USS could get risk as a result of that. So we tried to throw as much as we possibly could at your other financial risk in relation to Israeli investments, so you need to get out of that. We also raised issues about the impact of the war had on the scheme's climate obligations. The USS scheme, like many others, is very good at publicising its climate credentials and what it's doing for net zero. We want them to be doing that as well. But at the same time, you can't then go and invest in war that's wreaking climate devastation in different parts of the world. And actually, we've done a wee bit more around this, and there's more to be done on this particular issue, and we're trying to commission some research at the minute about climate pension funds. But there was a report produced by the Initiative on Greenhouse Gas Accounting of War, which is a research collective partly funded by the German and Swedish governments and the European Climate Foundation. Now, it was specifically focused on the first 2 years of the Russian-Ukraine. And it set out the issues about what the impact was of that from a climate perspective, and it said that the annual greenhouse gas emissions generated the first 2 years was equivalent to that generated by 175 countries. And this exacerbated the global climate emergency in addition to the amount of death tolls and widespread destruction. The report found that a third of the warfare emissions had come directly from military activities, such as fuel use. Another third is attributed to the vast quantities of steel and concrete that we need for reconstruction. And a third come from other areas such as fires, rerouting of commercial planes, attacks on energy and infrastructure, and displacement of people. And Gaza is worse than what's actually going on. The amount of devastation and destruction that has occurred in Gaza has created more environmental damage, and there's some new research coming out along those lines. We want to encourage that. So what we tried to target with the pension scheme was, how can you stand up and give us your green credentials when you're actually encouraging and supporting investments in armaments and munitions that are devastating not just the people, they're devastating the planet and the world as well. So here's some of the issues that we wanted to try and raise. Is that what do we want the trustee to do? And there's a number of things that I've set out there. You wanted the trustee to do more and to be seen to be doing more. UCU's policy is for divestment from all Israeli products and companies supporting Israel. But we had to be realistic. We didn't expect USS to get the mark. Anything will go. We wanted the trustee board to commit to a thorough review of the USS investment policy in light of the many concerns raised. And this decision would be in line with the recent decision by the University of Reading, which set up a review on its investment policy on armaments. We wanted them to screen all investments and lobby those in any way complicit, whether in direct funding or in the supply chain. We want trustees to consider an inclusive investment policy rather than an exclusive one, so that once investments were made, once investments were made, they're very hard to get out of. And therefore, we wanted the work to be done at the front, so that you made the right decision, rather than somebody having to come to you and tell you made the wrong decision. And no one likes, and I can tell you, senior pensions people, or executive, or worse than most, nobody likes being told they made the wrong decision. But also, we wanted them to focus on the West Bank and not just Gaza. Israel has breached numerous UN resolutions, companies listed in the UN database. It extended borders beyond less, and we needed to be talking and making decisions about future investments and not just waiting. Pension investments also bring, speaking of voting rights, of company AGLs, and we wanted the scheme to use these to argue for higher ethical standards and uphold international law, which is something that they weren't doing and haven't been doing in relation to their investments. And we wanted more information to be made public. We wanted scheme members, regardless of what decision they made, we wanted scheme members to understand what decisions were being made, because that information, despite the fact that you're in the middle of the administration of that, we find it really difficult to find out actually what the pension schemes invest in, let alone individual members. So, what has the scheme done? Some, it has definitely done some, as referenced earlier, but it hasn't done enough. As referenced, the recent article in the Financial Times that USS disposed of £80 million worth of Israeli government bonds, but it still has money invested in companies supporting Israel, and we're now targeting it. We've raised concerns about investments in companies listed on the UN database, and we await a response to our demands to divest. We've also raised concerns in the recent International Court of Justice decision on the illegal occupation of the West Bank, and the company supporting this illegal activity. Again, we await a response from USS on those concerns. And we continue to push for divestment from arms manufacture and the need to continuously review these investments. As I said earlier, we've been told no many times. USS had its institutions making its AGM on Tuesday. We raised it again. They told us no. We will continue to push, and we won't take no for an answer. I said at the start, I'm also afraid involving the trade union Friends of Palestine, and just as part of the theme of this conference, I wanted to touch on a couple of issues that we've been doing in Ireland. The Trade Union Friends of Palestine was established in 2005 and works within the trade union movement to educate the membership, to highlight the injustices inflicted on the Palestinian people and to mobilise solidarity activities. In 2007, we passed a motion at our Ireland conference supporting BDS. We worked with colleagues in the UK and Norway and South Africa to engage the ICTU Executive Council and to ensure ongoing support for Palestine. In 2021, we established a specific BDS group within the ICTU to increase understanding and support for BDS amongst the affiliates. One of the first things that led to, there was a high-level delegation who actually visited the West Bank. They had tried to get into Gaza and couldn't get in, but they visited the West Bank in order to make contact and to show our solidarity for the Palestinian people. We've also been looking at ways to develop support for BDS within unions. We're developing, and we're at the very early stage, I have to say, but we're trying to develop a train-the-trainer course in relation to pensions, procurement, people who work with banks, investments, to establish a resource library so that activists can have the resources and the confidence to engage employers in arguments around divestment. We are assisting unions as they engage with employers in procurement policies, working with unions, universities, colleges to end links with Israeli institutions. And we're looking specifically at supporting pensions trustees and unions officials who deal with pensions on the financial arguments that can be made to divest from Israel and the company supporting it. So a lot's been happening. It can be frustratingly slow. Progress can be very, very slow. But we are determined, and we won't accept no as an answer. We'll just go away, we'll find better arguments. Thank you very much.